How does a weary world rejoice? We've acknowledged weariness, we find joy and connection, and then we allow ourselves to be amazed. And that is always an amaze-filled moment, what's going to come out of everybody's mouth. When was the last time, though, you were amazed, congregation? Yesterday, okay. Any others? When was the last time? Can you recall that moment when you were last amazed? And in some ways, I'm not talking about being surprised either. I find myself surprised on a regular basis when I turn on the news and see something like, are you kidding me? That really was said or that was done. I'm talking about that pure amazement where it just kind of takes your breath away. And it leads to that verge of weeping or laughter or the combination of the two. That moment where you're like, wow. When I paused long enough to answer this question for myself, there were lots of things that came to mind. One of the things, though, that came to my mind's eye was when I climbed the top of Old Ray Mountain in the Shenandoah National Park. I was overcome with emotion. So hiking up to the top is about 4.5 miles, and I was lifting myself and crawling through rock crevices and doing rock scrambles and all sorts of stuff. And then when you get to the top, you see how the trees and the horizon kiss, and it's breathtaking. And exactly. And then when you breathe in the air, it just smells so good. That was an amazing moment, an awe-inspiring moment. When was the last time you were amazed? Allowing ourselves to be amazed is an intentional act, one that we must be open to noticing. Our spidey senses have to be on alert. Reverend Leslie Gwen Garrity, in the Sermon Guide for Sanctified Art, which is the liturgical guide that we've been using for this season of Advent, she wrote in her commentary about amazement. And she said that amazement is a precursor for joy. Joy can't be coerced out of us. If joy feels out of reach, can we first allow ourselves to notice and take in the amazing wonders in each day? Wonders we can too easily ignore. The swirl of silky white creamer in your morning coffee, which is pure joy. The carefully crafted bird's nest in your favorite tree. The doe-like steps of a toddler as they discover the confidence to walk. The dappling beams of sunlight refracting through your window. Allowing ourselves to be amazed requires a posture of paying attention and then saying yes to wonder when it washes over us. Amazement is also a balm for the weary. It awakens those who feel numb. It renews those whose senses have been dulled. And surprisingly, it may even turn to joy. Amazement turned to joy is in our passage today. Reverend Cecilia Armstrong was writing in her commentary about that there was great rejoicing when Elizabeth, after the birth of her son, and she was rejoicing as the neighbors came. However, there seemed to be a pause in the praise when the name of the child did not align with the traditions of the day. And that was even foretold by an angel. So perhaps the angel was onto something. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Failing to believe, an angel and Elizabeth, the gathered crowd, motioned for Zechariah to name the child. And they put something in front of him so he could write it down. And they were surprised that his selection was the same as Elizabeth's. And in that moment, the crowd was amazed. Zechariah was freed to speak, and praise was the order of the day. Fear came over the neighbors, and the rumor mill went wild. Surely the hand of God would be on this child, John. And surely people would continue to be amazed, considering that the name John in Hebrew means God is gracious. What could this gracious God possibly do that would allow people to be amazed? There are all kinds of amazement that turns into joy throughout the beginning chapter of the Gospel of Luke. The neighbors of the Judean hill country at John's birth. Everyone in Bethlehem hears the shepherd's good news, and Mary and Joseph after they receive Simeon's blessing in the temple. Additionally, there are many instances in these opening chapters when we presume that characters are filled with wonder and awe, including when Zechariah discovers he can speak once again. Luke's gospel emphasizes joy, amazement, and wonder while telling the birth story of Christ, especially in these opening chapters. And why? In this season, I'm convinced it's because we need a reminder. We need a reminder that joy and amazement exist in a world filled with corruption, war, and oppression. We need to know that joy and amazement exist. So as we take time in this season to be intentional, may we be intentional to notice the things around us that amaze us. To take the time to notice and to lean into what this amazement can turn into. Pure,